So yeah, whenever you want to access your vertices, edges, and faces, you right click and hold, go to any of those. So faces, I said you can delete them, you can select them and delete them. Ctrl Z is for undoing. Now, this menu here has the tools. You have the selection tool. Everybody knows how to use the selection tool. I'm going to explain that. These two, you can ignore them. They are for paint selection. They are like those things you find in Photoshop for the selection tools. Those ones, the lasso tool and things like that. So yeah, they do that. And they also work well on UVs or textures. Now, the most thing you should focus on are these three tools. The move tool is for moving things. And you notice actually they are aligned in blue, red, green. Blue is, it is, but I mean, which dimension is blue normally in 3D? It's red is usually X, green is usually Y, and then the blue is Z. So these are three dimensions, 3D. So this thing here is always there in Maya. I'm sure also those who have their Maya, you have it. So it should be able to work like that. So all of these tools follow that dimension layout. So I can move a face like that, make it bigger or smaller. I can select it from the bottom. So I'm holding out, down, out, and I am using my left click to rotate like that. Out on the keyboard, and then use your mouse, left click, left button click to move around like that. If you want to come closer, just scroll. Or hold down, out, and use your left button on your keyboard or on your mouse. So there's a lot of, it's like I'm playing a game. So normally when you go to Adobe, this is your canvas, not so? Now, for us, we don't call this a canvas. This is a viewport. But I'm sure Cinema 4D has already given you a good idea of what most of these things look like. I'm just, maybe the movement. How do you move, how do you rotate the viewport in Cinema 4D? Well, what do? You use arrows. There are some icons up, which you click on it to rotate. That's so lame. It's lame. You can use the mouse? How would you use the mouse? No. In space, eh? And okay, that works. Yeah, this one I was saying that would be lame. It's because 3D has a lot to do with sculpting, so you want to be controlling the viewport. That tends to be, that gives you more control than you being just clicking like you're typing in a Word document. That would be terrible for animation. So yeah, I hope they have that stuff, but it's a standard. The software which set a standard for how this 3D application work, it was called Lightwave, which Maya Autodesk bought to turn into Autodesk Maya. Now, you guys, the idea of contending between softwares do not even be an issue, because companies, large companies like Pixar and Disney and DreamWorks, they have software developed in-house that you have never even seen. Animation software, they have animation software which is not commercial. So when you go in there, you're required to learn it actually and use it. Most of us use Arnold to render, then maybe V-Ray. Guess what? Those guys have their own that you have never heard of. They have departments of engineers who just develop software. For them, yes, it becomes much easier to, if you are producing animation at that level, that massively, you wouldn't want commercial software. Yes, so when you have the money, you develop. But I've seen Disney and Pixar, they still integrate Maya for its rigging capabilities. Of course, these guys have gone all out on rigs and models. So they still tend to use this stuff in addition to their software. Now, Blender is good for independent creators, so you never really find it in those companies. Never, never. It's for independent creators. If you have your customer team, you're 2 people, 3 people, and you're trying to really get things to move, Blender will be the best. Yeah, will be the best. Now, I can move with the move tool. Use the arrows to move things around, maybe faces, select a face and move them around. As you can see, you can move any direction. Move tool there. Now the scale tool, on the other hand, will work when you go back to object mode, and then you have your scale tool. Then you just modify and center pivot. So scale tool is down here, which you grab and scale like that. Grab and scale like that. You can grab and scale upwards and downwards. Now all of these are going to be important. Please remember them. Then the rotation tool, it will so be like that. The green is the Y rotation. The red is the x-axis. Then the blue is the z-axis. So as you move your things here, you can see that actually these are the attributes. I can, you know how you increase things in Photoshop? When you put your cursor on an attribute in Photoshop, it tends to bring a hand with 2 arrows facing sideways. Then you can drag on it. Have you seen that before in Photoshop? You said Photoshop, you've forgotten it. When you're in Photoshop and you put an arrow on something which has figures on it, it brings an hand with 2 arrows, so you can just drag to increase or reduce maybe a stroke or something. You get? So the same thing works here. So you can put here and then come back here, hold down the middle mouse button and do that without touching the thing. Without touching it, it will respond to this. So these attributes also have translation, rotation, scale. So they keep track of the location of the object. So this translation is the move tool. When you move the object, it will read X, Y, Z. Then rotation, which is this tool, it will read the X, Y, Z rotation. Then you have the scale for making things bigger or smaller, which has X, Y, Z. These are what we call the attributes. Your layers are here. You just click on this icon here, create a new layer, and then they'll create for you a layer which you can double click in it. Let me see, you can double click in it and rename. I think you can right click and rename it. Rename. Is it jumping and going somewhere? But anyway, it goes on and off. I don't know why it's not. Yeah, and you can also have transparency, lock. You can lock it so that you don't touch it. So the lock is there, R, the T is for that. Oh, there will be nothing. I think should be popping up when I select this. I wonder where it's going. Yes, I think I know where it's going. My screen has to be in extension, so it is going this side. Let me first drag it out. That's why I was wondering where it was going, because I usually work with 2 screens, so my computer is used to having 2 screens. Then I can bring it back to duplicate. Yeah, so when you click on this thing here, it will pop up this, and you can name the layer maybe 0. You can even give it color, and then just say okay, so you know where your layers are. So you can form as many layers as you can. And these layers, please don't work like the ones of Photoshop, that whereby the one on top will appear on top because it's 3D. If they just read position on and off, so they don't affect the forward or background. They don't. Then they just on and off. Okay, so right click, go to vertices. So vertices will be represented as those small points there. So I'm holding down Alt to move myself around, and I'm using all the 3 buttons. So this is something you have to practice. It's an art in oneself. Moving yourself around is interface, like what I'm doing here. It's something you see that my fingers keep moving on the mouse, so it's something you have to get used to. So you have to practice it. So if I right click and go to vertices here, you find that the vertices are there. There are purple dots there. You see them? When you press 4 on your keyboard, it gives you transparent look like that. 5 is what you call shaded mode. 4 is wireframe. 5 is shaded mode. 6 are textures. 7 are lights. But you don't have to remember that. You just have to use them when you need them. So in most cases we're working with 5 on, but if I want to see through the object because I want to look at something over that side which I can't see now, I'll turn on number 4 and then I'll be able to see through it like that. So this tends to be very intuitive. When you start using Maya, you realize how versatile it is. It gives you a lot of control, and it's like you're playing a game. It's almost like playing a game, the way you work with it. So it becomes very manual and intuitive. So these, when I select them and I go to the move tool, I can move them around, as you can see that. See that? These moves I'm showing you, you're going to need them when you're modeling things. Like that. Like that. But you can't delete them, of course, because they are between 3 points. You can't delete them. Now the last one, aligns. Right click, go to edges up here. These are edges, so I can select them when I go to edge move and I can move them. So you can see, you can do that. Control Z, Ctrl Z, just on the keyboard will do the trick. So I can use any of the things to manipulate the object by maybe I can drag and select a bunch of them like that, then I move them down. Then I can make this bigger, or I can use my faces to do the same thing. Select one face and make it bigger. Select the other face and make it bigger or smaller, like that. So when I have that, for example, if I wanted to make a simple table, I will now start introducing new tools. Now, notice that actually each time I manipulate this, the tool sort of stays a bit not away from the middle. So if I try to rotate this, it rotates a bit funny. So that is called a center of pivot. Every object has it. I think in Cinema 4D you had a center of pivot. Yeah? Did you have something like a center of pivot? It's the same. So in order to center it here, you go to modify center pivot. I don't know why you're not taking some notes, but I hope your heads are good enough to remember. Don't say, I don't remember that because you didn't teach it. Anyway, so now in order for me to manipulate this object and start modeling things from it, start making stuff from it, I need to add some lines in it, what you call edge loops. In Cinema 4D, do we have edge loops? Good. So the edge loops of Maya, you go to I think it's edit mesh or mesh tools. I'm not sure. Yes, but I know it's in between there. So mesh tools, insert edge loop tool. Now when you search in the edge loop tool, I want you to remember this because I'm teaching university students. I'm not going to go step by step. I'll just go straight to the rules, good stuff. Eh? So I'll click on this option box and bring up my window here, this window here. Everything installed? Yes, click on the blue line. Click on the blue line. Have you clicked on it? Where it's requesting for serial number. What has it brought? Yes, agree. Activate. What has it brought? The serial number is 400. Then 454545. Repeat at 45. until we can't type anymore. That's okay, leave it as is. Now we'll go next. What is it saying? No, the other option. Request what? Read. Offline. Have you seen the option is offline? Don't click before you confirm. Using offline method, yes, click on that. What has it brought? If you had come early, all this stuff would have been done. Yeah, so patch there. They use that like patch. Listen there. Listen there. Why? That's right. This one here is my so that's it. First day, right? Patch. Okay. Generates. Okay. Generate. Double click that. Double click that. Okay. Go back to that. So people who run Windows 11, that thing which looks like Android, right? That thing is terrible for the application. Because it has these constant updates. So it keeps looking for them and crashing them and crashing them. It's terrible for them. So anyways, save a file and then you start straight away. Now, where were we? When you open this, I want to add some lines. When you open this tool, it will have relative distance. So relative distance means, by the way, when I bring this tool up, my tool will change to look like that. So when you click and hold, actually, sorry for that. It should be in relative. When you reset, it should be in relative. When I click and hold, I can just decide where to put my line. So I can decide to put my line over here, then let go. So if I click on this other side, it will add lines like this. If I click on these lines which are going this way, it will add lines going that way. So click and hold, then let go where you feel you want them. Then change and just keep adding loops. So the reason why it's called edge loop tool is because it's a line, but it loops around. Edge loop, yeah? So notice that each time I add more lines, my faces increase and vertices increase. So you find that before you were 6 faces, now they are 30. Yes, so each time you add lines, you create more subdivisions. Okay, so with that done, I can right click and go back to faces. When I go to faces, I can select this face, shift select that face, shift select that face, shift select that face. Then I can come back to the top using Alt and my mouse. Then I go to something called extrude. There's a shortcut here called extrude, but I think also you can find it in edit mesh. There should be extrude here. edit mesh, extrude. Most of the tools you're going to find them in, most of the editing tools with polygons, you're going to find them in mesh, edit mesh, mesh tools. If you're looking for anything, most cases just look in these lists. Yes. So I'm going to use a shortcut here. Click on that. It will bring me this tool here. You don't have to use it. Just use a move tool because you want to move. You want to extrude these legs out like this to make a table, something like a table. So when you have a table, you can Control D to duplicate. I don't know how you duplicate in Cinema 4D. Alt. It's also Control D. Yeah, this stuff, most of this is standard, I know for a fact. Control drag is for Adobe. Yes. But Maya also you can copy and paste. You can Control C and Control V. The only thing that it will copy all the attributes, including shaders in that case. But if you just want the model, just Control D to do that. So the model is similar, but each of them has independent attributes. So guys, this is basic. These are the basic things you're going to need to model things. The unfortunate bit for you is that I have to jump into modeling characters straight away. So we can't be modeling boxes. So let me give you just a chance to try modeling a table so that you have a feel of those tools.